Howell. That was quite an experience.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Well, enjoyed would be an interesting word. It released my hips, which was one of the first things that amazed me, because my hips had been locked up because I fell and I hurt the hip, and you just put it back in.
And I didn't even work on it specifically.
Yes, but that released my hips, which then released my back, and my back feels like I can move a little bit better.
Good.
And then we went up to my sinuses and my neck, of course, where ankylosing spondylitis, which is my, shall I say, the disease I was born with.
Yeah.
And that, my neck was so locked up. I have, so you folks know, I have titanium from my hips to my lips. I have artificial hips, titanium rods in my back, and a broken neck. So I've been treated for everything. But you just released the muscles and the meningeal system. How did you do that? Because you did it with
actually,
4 balloon placements.
As you noticed, that we didn't take the time to do body work. We were doing a very abbreviated treatment. So what I first did was that I released your coccyx. So I went in through the anus and rectum, and I moved his coccyx and sacrum into a better position. And then I did external cranial manipulations. And then finally I released 3 different areas in his face and skull using the small endonasal balloon. So the idea, though, was to make bones more symmetrical, and then to release the chronic tension in there so that the body can move, and then the fluids start to flow, and then the nervous system works better. And when the weight is more supported, then the muscles don't need to be tight, so then the freedom of movement returns as well.
Well, what you didn't know was I had a left ear problem that it was causing me problems. I had a left sinus problem that was causing me problems. And I had a tooth on my left side that was causing me problems. They all just cleared up.
Oh, good.
So,
well, that's the alignment situation.
Yes. Well, yes. I knew that it was out, but how to put it back together without you was, I didn't have an answer.
Yeah. You just need to make arrangements, Bill. We've got to figure it out.
Yes. Well, we've been doing this stuff for years.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then you specifically found that there's 6 sinuses, right?
There's 6 passages that lead from your nostril into your throat, and then there's 2 more passages up high, and they go to your olfactory nerve, and you don't want to stick balloons up there.
No.
So we work in those 6 passageways, and then they flex the sphenoid different directions when the joints release, and then the connective tissue unwinds, and then the head becomes more symmetrical if we pick the right place.
All right, now let's go into that. How do you pick the right place? Because you picked 1 balloon on the right and 3 balloons on the left. 4 actually.
Actually, I was repeating passages, so out of the 6 passage places, I used the lower left, the middle left, and the upper right.
Right.
So I kept repeating those until they released properly. And the way that I teach people that don't have a really high degree of sensitivity is that I can actually have them stand up, and we can do standing tests where I can push on their body at different test points, and we can see the difference in response.
And
I've done this so many times I don't need to do that anymore.
You feel the meningeal system tightening up on one side or the other? Like
yes, and so the whole structure, when we do it right, it sits in the middle, and people will feel like they're more rooted to the earth. They'll even talk about that when they're standing. And that means that we're getting their alignment where it's supposed to be.
Right.
If you're standing up and you feel like you're perched on the balls of your feet and your heels don't hit very well, what's going wrong? That can't be normal.
Right.
So we find out that there's structural issues that when we correct them, that goes away.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I could actually feel it going. Now, when you did the last one up on the left side, you said that wasn't as far up on the left as you could go?
No, there's a 3rd passageway. I was in the bottom and middle passageways. There's a 3rd passageway that I could work in, but it wasn't needed today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you got one of them a couple times on the left side.
Yes, I did, the middle one.
And what was it that made you get that a second time?
Well, the first time I went through, the balloon wasn't quite strong enough to open the joint so that the joint didn't release, so we didn't get the correction that we needed.
Now, how can you tell the joint releases or doesn't?
I feel it a lot of times just in the way that the bulb squeeze goes, but then I can also rerun my orthopedic tests and it'll show up that way too.
So a lot of it is years of experience.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I teach people, I can teach them those things, they just won't be quite as quick.
right.
Yeah. But all those are physical methods. They aren't just intuition.
Well, I notice you're very quick on, very quick off. You don't leave people in a balloon in their nose state.
No reason to. It's not functional and it's unpleasant. So.
Right.
Better to make it quick.
Yes. Well, I think it makes a huge difference. Anyway, I appreciate it. Anything else that you can tell our folks about that? I can tell them it released my head. I've had a headache going also, and it felt like it released that.
Well, to me, it is just crucial. Every time you have a major change in your structure or a big emotional event, if you're not feeling right afterwards, when you had that big event occur, your connective tissues and muscles tighten up.
Right.
And if your structure shifts and it finds a stable alignment pattern,
Right.
it's going to stay right there. And if you just crack and nudge yourself and stretch, it's not going to go away. You have to re-change that stability definition for your nervous system. And that's routine with our work. And other work, it will happen sometimes too.
Well, so you're basically doing what I call the software computer programming. You're changing the inside so how it controls the body changes.
That's right.
You and the dental guys are the only two guys I know who do that.
Right. And that's why I don't teach spinal manipulation and stuff like that, is because you don't need to do that very often. Most of the time, you're better off doing the central core corrections than you are working on the individual bones.
Now, you felt my neck and said, this is out.
Yeah.
What did you do then?
Well, all I did in that case was just let my hands go.
More of an energy type work.
Yeah. Something that's wonderful for Rebecca and I in our healing work,
Right.
but it makes it impossible to teach, is that we just are shown things.
You just know.
Part of we're spiritual people.
Right.
We think that when we're in the right place, God shows us what to do. And that's how I've been learning so many new things, because I create new methods all the time. I've been doing it for 30 years, and it's because I'm quiet and I try my best just to help. It's not about money and it's not about fame. It's about fixing you, whoever you are.
Right.
And when I fix you and I can't figure it out, I worry about it a lot until God shows me something else to try. And I keep doing that, and we accumulate all that stuff, and Rebecca does the same stuff, and between the two of us, we can help a lot of people, but we can't teach everything.
Well,
we can't teach some of that.
Well,
it's faith-driven.
I think it was said best, be anxious for nothing, but in prayer with thanksgiving, present your body as a living and holy sacrifice. And I think that's essentially what we do. People say, well, where do you get all this stuff from? I'll tell you the truth. What you and I learned in school is not what we're doing now.
Couldn't. It doesn't work.
That's why they call that ceremony a commencement ceremony, because you now start learning.
Right.
But you have a background that you can now put it somewhere so you understand what you're learning. But it's not done mentally, intellectually, although we get it intellectual, because both you and I get very intellectual. I've had these conversations before.
Yes.
But we also go to getting in the zone, as they call it, where we're in the zone where we feel things. That didn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. They're not reacting right to this. What's going on there?
Because we see we're not technicians, we're healers.
Right.
There are people in the medical
That's
industry that are only technicians.
Right.
And they can do their job extremely well, but that means that there's going to be stuff that they miss because it's outside of their little framework. Well, we're on the opposite side where we don't have the framework, and sometimes that hurts, but most of the time it means that we're open to better things and we find out new stuff.
Well, and I think that's why healing is a calling, not just a vocation for us.
You can't learn to be a healer.
It's more of an advocation. It's something we enjoy doing.
Yeah, you can't learn to be a healer. You
Right.
have to be a healer
Right.
and learn how to do it better.
And it's at the heart of, I'm not satisfied with my golf game till the score's 18. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, the reality is every time you make something didn't work, you go, how can that work better next time?
And that's how I live.
Yeah, well, 30, 40 years of doing that makes you go, I think I'm getting more of a feeling how to do this with understanding and not muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And we use less and less muscle and more understanding,
Right.
and get better results.
Well, and of course, the greatest healers just walked up to people and touched them. I'm not close to that good.
or Jesus healed them
Yeah, just thought about it.
on the road. How you do that? Yeah, no, that's very cool. Anything else I can share with them? Because you just did a lot of very cool things.
Gosh, we've talked about so much.
I'm your witness.
Yes. Well, that's what we want to do. We want to help you all.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate
So we're going to have classes here at this place, right?
it. Yeah,
And that'll be next January 28th to February 4
okay.
was the date I sent you and you said it was okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that'll be a class, and we'll have people here to train them in starting this kind of work. And then,
you
of
want
course,
to give them your phone number so they know who to call? And
sure,
How to-
it's 888-252-0411.
give it to them again.
888-252-0411, and then it's drdeanhowell.com.
All right, now,
drdeanhowell.com. And
if-
we have a new website that's going up that's huge. And
now there's two types of people we need on this. We need some people who may want to learn.
Mm-hmm. And the rest could just be people that would like treatment. And
Right.
And we're routinely coming to Orange County and Los Angeles, 3 or 4 week intervals. We're regularly, about every 3 months, go to Denver area. Every 4 to 6 weeks we're in Brooklyn. And then we're still in Washington State, and our house is in Washington State. So we're starting to work up in eastern Washington outside a small town called Tonasket.
Tonasket. Well, there's one I haven't heard of in Washington.
It's a town of 900, and we live 10 miles away.
Oh.
You always know I didn't like the city.
Yeah. Although I know you like San Diego when you're here, you like the sushi bars back in the day.
Right. That's true. I like to be in the city, or I want to be in the total country. I
Right.
don't like the in-between.
Yes. You're not a tweener guy.
No.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks. Thank you, Dean, for joining us on Health Talk with Second Opinion. This is your host, Dr. Bill Kellis, wishing the Lord's health and grace to you.
Thank you. Ooh, it gets hot.
You should have given them my phone number too, because sometimes yours doesn't work.
Well, that number always works. It just is voicemail most of the time. But.
That's okay. I wanted to tell him what I was doing when I was on his body, because when you were doing the head, I was accommodating what you were doing by working on the heart and on the lung, neck, because everything I was doing went up through the neck and into the head. And I think that the pain that I was feeling on his left side was what you were doing from the balloons as the plates were shifting. That's what I think that little sharp pain was.
You want to open that door there?
Of course.
Yeah, it'll cool off.
So that's what I think I was picking up. You know, one thing I don't like about wearing a dress is when you step on it, you can't stand up.
That's true.
That's kind of a
About
interesting.
what?
When you
Oh.
step on a dress and you're sitting down and you step on the actual fabric, you can't actually stand up. It kind of pulls you down.
Oh, that's much better out here.
I was saying the pain I was feeling on your left side, I think, was from the balloons he did that